This trip, the Ditherer and I are back staying at Wildwood Cottage in Ophir, New South Wales. Ophir itself is about 20 minutes north of Orange, in the central western New South Wales. It's no longer really a town, it's just a collection of farms, but we're staying on Wildwood, a cottage and 1,200 acres of property right in the middle of the diggings. This property was the birthplace of the first Australian gold rush in 1851, when Hargraves and Lister found gold in the lower Lewis Ponds Creek that still runs through the property. It's dawn on the first day, and it's beautiful. It's a glorious morning. But the dither is still dithering, so I'll show you around a bit and tell you a few stories about the place before we get started. The cottage itself at Wildwood once served the diggers as a post office, a general store, hotel, even a butchery apparently, but now it's a cosy little farmstead that's become the Ditherers and my home away from home. Wildwood has about 5 kilometres of creek frontage onto the lower Lewis Ponds Creek. It's a pretty little creek, and the Ditherer and I have test panned up and down it trying to find and scout a location for this trip. The sun's been up now for about half an hour and I'm keen to get out and wash some dirt, but the dither is still, well, dithering, so I killed some time by looking at ducks, in particular their inability to land on barbed wire, and that kept me intrigued for a little while. The weeping willow you can see there marks the edge of the creek. It's sunken below the ground level there, and also Annal's tunnel, which we'll come back to in a minute. We're just above the creek now, just above Annal's tunnel, and I'll show you that in a sec. Looking back towards the house, you can actually see just how far away we are from the house. Perhaps if I zoomed in a bit, and I'll do it badly. Yep, in fact I've missed. In we go again. There we go, that's the back of the house in which we stayed. Zoom back out, let's go down and look at the creek again. So this area was all heavily mined by the first gold rush miners, and then in the 20s and 30s and a bit later, Thomas Annal's began digging this tunnel, which he used to divert the river into a tunnel under a point. It comes out about 50 metres downstream, but above it here is the old riverbed that he sought to drain. It goes out and around the point. After that was free of water, he went in there and got what was left of the gold out, but there wasn't much left because the Chinese had been very thorough. Just looking down now from the other side of the creek, we're looking into the tunnel mouth. Haven't test panned down there, that'd be interesting behind that pile of logs and sticks. You can actually get through the tunnel there when the water level's down. I'm not particularly interested in doing it, but others might be. Well, it's time now to get back to the house and see whether the ditherer has finished dithering and see if we can go gold mining. Eventually the ditherer finished dithering and we got set up. We dragged the hogwash in and set up the 2-inch pump and got everything working nicely. Then the ditherer had to spend some time fiddling with the settings on the machine, getting the water flow just right and the angles of the sluice set correctly. Meanwhile I dug a hole because that was pretty simple. I filled a few buckets with material and we processed them. After each bucket we'd go through and clean out the sluices and see how much gold we're capturing and how far down the sluices it was and make adjustments. By the end of the third day I worked out that I'd made my little trench there, 15 feet long, 3 feet wide and 2 foot 6 deep, and I'd shifted about 4 tons of material. The surface here on this gravel beach looked loose, but when you tried to dig into it, it was tough as concrete. I had to spend a fair bit of time de-rocking, removing the bigger rocks, throwing them into a pile, and taking even the fist-sized boulders out so that I could process them through the Highbanker. During the first few buckets we processed, we did it all with a little hand trowel and we just watched very carefully where the dirt flowed and how fast we had to have the water going. In this video here you can see that we've got a large rock wedged deliberately in the hopper box to try and control the flow of the dirt. We watched very carefully how wet and how clean the rocks were getting and how the clay was breaking up, and we were processing through it as well. You can see there that that wasn't a very good method. But later on we actually tried blocking up the entire hopper with rocks and washing it like in a giant washing machine. That seemed to work quite well, but we weren't able to process the throughput that we were able to when we were letting it wash freely like this. The first sluice in the Hogwash, Highbanker, is actually a 2 foot 6 length of sluice with Gold Hog matting in, and we're running some UR matting and some scrubber there for those that know your Gold Hog matting. But it's not really long enough and the water wasn't particularly moving fast enough for us. And after a bit of testing of the tailings with a pan, we decided to throw the extra sluice on and change the angle a bit for the second sluice to try and get some more material to drop out. And eventually we were finding that about a third of our gold was coming out of the bottom sluice.
few rocks and that in there. Can't tell you gold. Here it comes. Here it comes. I'll just move this out of here. Hey? How's that? You see that? A bit of a tile there. How's that look to you? Can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go on with it.
After the first few cleanouts, we pretty much got into our stride, found our rhythm. We'd done a bit of experimentation with the hopper box, blocking the flow and controlling the water flow through the grizzly bars. We changed the sluice angles and changed the amount of water we were putting through the pump and putting through the hopper box. Anyway, whatever we were doing seemed to be improving things because the gold got better and better. Each cleanout was better than the last, and each day was better than the previous. It was kind of a shame at the end to have to leave when we thought we were just about to hit the mother lode, as always. video wouldn't be complete without saying thanks to Larry and Dee, our hosts at Wildwood. We had a wonderful time, and this video is a chance for them to see the sorts of things we did while we were on the property, as we coaxed and cajoled the gold out of the creek, and frankly bored it and dithered it through the Highbanker. Remember to check out their website on www.wildwoodcottage.com.au. It's a cosy little place to stay out at Ophir, and the gold sure makes it that much better.